Welcome to Roughing It with Ruth, the channel where everything is a bit rough around the edges. Pre-packed first aid kits are widely available, but they often don't have exactly what you want, and they can be quite expensive. Here's how to put one together yourself.
Sorry about the horrible lighting in this section. Hopefully it shocks you enough that you realize how important the information I'm about to give you is. The most important thing in your first aid kit is what you know and what you can do with your hands. So really try to take some time to do a first aid course or read a book or do at least some research online, because none of your gear is going to matter unless you know how to use it.
And on that note, resist the temptation to take equipment that you don't know how to use. You do not need a defibrillator and plaster of Paris, and you don't need to be a walking hospital. Just pack the basics. The first step is to find a container. Any sturdy plastic or metal container should be fine. You can even use a Ziploc bag. I decided to add some felt crosses to mine so I could find it in my hiking bag even in the dark. And because I've apparently learned nothing from my previous DIYs, I decided to use super glue. Here's how my Frankensteinian creation turned out. Pretty, huh? In addition to the first aid kit, make sure that you always have your medical aid details and emergency contact numbers. I always pack my disposable latex gloves right on the top, because if it's an emergency, you'll need them right away. I've also included a small torch, just in case I need to use the first aid kit in the middle of the night. And of course my trusty Victorinox penknife. If you don't have a penknife like this, you can just add a scalpel blade for cutting things and a pair of tweezers for taking out splinters and stings. It's a good idea to always carry a backup pair of disposable latex gloves. Small brass safety pins can be used for first aid and to repair equipment. Take a little bit of paper and a pencil along just to record notes in an emergency. In this Ziploc bag, I have all of my pills, mostly pain pills and anti-inflammatories, but also antihistamines and antacids. If you're on any chronic medication, remember to include it in your first aid kit and remember to label everything clearly. I've included a single roll of stretchy crepe bandage for sprained ankles and to hold larger dressings in place. Because I'm going to be taking this first aid kit with me hiking, I've also included some string. This Ziploc bag contains all the items that I need for wound dressing. Alcohol pads are lightweight and can be useful to clean wounds. If you're taking your first aid kit with on a hike, then blister plasters are essential. A burn dressing can be useful if you accidentally touch your cooking stove at the wrong moment. And don't forget the first aid standby plasters. An emergency space blanket can really save your life if you're in shock, too cold, or even just getting rained on. Another thing that I think is great for hiking emergencies is some rehydration powder. Although it's more of a survivalist item than a first aid item, I always like to carry some water purification tablets with me. I've written the instructions directly on the packaging. This is a chemical hot pack. It heats up when exposed to air. You also get chemical cold packs, but they're much bulkier, so I don't generally put them in my first aid kit. This gauze should have really got in the same packet as the plasters. You can use it to clean wounds and also as an emergency dressing. Also not really a first aid item, but I always take a cable tie with me in case my hiking equipment breaks. Something that's maybe more specific to hiking first aid kits is a pair of nail clippers. Although you're not going to want to put stitches in people, you might need to repair your equipment. A tiny travel sewing kit from a hotel works great. And finally, I like to include some flat pack duct tape because it's also waterproof, so I prefer it over those rolls of elastoplast. You might want to consider taking the following items that I haven't included in my first aid kit. Thanks so much for watching. If I've missed out on your favorite first aid item, please comment below.